All right. Hello, my friends. I am so happy and honored to be here today to kick off June 1st, 2023's Pride Month. So, I'm not going to keep us here for too long. We have a couple of speakers. I want to share some stories with the LGBT community, why we're here, why this matters. But first, I want to call up our partner in crime here with the City of Fall River, Mayor Coogan. I won't.
I got to give you a proclamation. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. We're going to have a great festival this weekend, and we hope people get a chance to go by the gates. Last year, I was able to present a proclamation declaring June as Pride Month in our city. And today, I'm happy to be here to kick off Pride Month with the Fall River Pride Committee and other elected officials and members of the community. As a city, when we raise a flag, we celebrate the journey we have taken towards acceptance and equality. We are also reminded that we still have more work to do to continue providing resources and safe spaces for LGBTQ people, as well as all the people in our city. As your mayor, I will continue to make sure this is a city where everyone belongs and no one should ever feel discriminated against. And to that end, I want to present my longtime friend Sean with a proclamation which basically states, the City of Fall River cherishes and values the dignity of all people and appreciates the importance of equality and freedom, where we are all welcome in our city to live, work, play, and every family in any shape deserves a place to call home, where they will feel safe, happy, and supported by friends and neighbors. The City of Fall River denounces prejudice and unfair discrimination based on age, gender identity, gender expression, race, color, religion, marital status, national origin, sexual orientation, or physical attributes as an affront to our fundamental principles in Fall River. And the City of Fall River also appreciates the cultural, civic, and economic contributions of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus LGBTQ community, which strengthen our social welfare. And it is imperative that young people in our community, regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers and community leaders. Now, therefore, I, Paul Coogan, Mayor of the City of Fall River, do hereby proclaim June as LGBTQ Pride Month in the City of Fall River. I wish you all a great festival this weekend. I will definitely be there, and I congratulate you on your efforts in the City of Fall River, and I want to present this to my good friend, Sean Connell.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Back to you.
Thank you. So as you guys know, our Fall River Pride Festival, our 4th annual, we got too big, too bold, and we had to move down to the gates of the city. Yes, we are monitoring the weather, but we are going to continue to go on, rain or shine, as long as it doesn't pour us out, because it's a celebration as much as it is a protest. And to those ends, I want to invite a couple of speakers from my committee up. First up, I want to introduce Mix MX, which is our gender-neutral pronoun, part of our LGBTQ Royal Court, Jameson.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here with us today. Thank you. My name is Jameson, and I am Fall River's current reigning mixed LGBT. As most of you know, June is recognized as Pride Month widely around the world. The word pride is a rejection of the shame put onto us queer people throughout history. It is a choice to proudly proclaim who we are. Pride to me is about waking up in the morning and choosing to live my life for me. It's about living my life with courage and joy. It's about celebrating differences in community with others without the fear of being judged or harmed for who you are. I'd like to share a quote from Stone Butch Blues that I hope will inspire others in our community during these dark times. I'm not saying we'll live to see some sort of paradise, but just fighting for change makes you stronger. Not hoping for anything will kill you for sure. Take a chance. You're already wondering if the world could change. Try imagining a world worth living in, and then ask yourself if that isn't worth fighting for. You've come too far to give up on hope. I ask you all to think of something you can do this month to show your pride and to support those who cannot do so safely. There is no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us.
Thank you so much, Jamie. And I would like to bring up another one of my executive board members, Rachel.
Hello, my name is Rachel Loomis. I'm the Networking and Public Outreach Executive for Fall River Pride Committee. Most people with any knowledge of the Holocaust recognize the pink triangle and what it represents. It was the gay men's yellow straw, branding them unacceptable, unworthy of Hitler and his acolytes' New World Order. But while many of us might know what the triangle represents, few of us are alive today who remember what the story of what it actually means. Before Hitler's rise to power, Germany had the most thriving gay culture in Europe. Bars, nightclubs, community groups, even an institute on sexuality and gender. Before 1933, securing LGBTQ equality in Germany appeared to be a foregone conclusion. Then the Nazis came to power. Because of their biased rhetoric and the way it preyed on the worst part of human nature, the safety and freedoms enjoyed by the LGBTQ Germans vanished almost overnight. The pink triangle represents the stories of more than 100,000 gay men that were rounded up after the Third Reich strengthened paragraph 175 of the German Penal Code, criminalizing any sexual act between men. Of those 100,000, as many as 15,000 were sent to concentration camps, and it's estimated that by the end of the war, upwards of 10,000 had perished, an unknown but likely significant portion to suicide. Some historians even believe that the numbers of persecuted and dead are significantly higher, but as with much of our community's history, the biases of the time led leading researchers and historians to erase LGBTQ individuals from the narrative. The cruelties visited on these victims and survivors make for a nauseating read. Few survived to tell their own stories. Fewer still felt safe and deserving enough to speak of it. Those who did describe unspeakable brutality. Pierre Seal, a gay Holocaust survivor from Nazi-occupied France, describes being interrogated, tortured, and forced to watch his lover mauled by a pack of dogs, all before the age of 18. Straight and gay survivors alike reported that the Nazis treated gay men worse than any other group save Jews. They were forced to work harder labor for longer hours under the belief that it would cure them. Nazi scientists took a different approach, castrating and experimenting on them in their disgusting search for a cure. These men were beaten, often to death, and not only by the guards. Other prisoners participated in the violence. One concentration camp isolated them in so-called sissy blocks to prevent them from mixing with the other prisoners. Helpless and hated, they were subjected to everything from verbal abuse to torture and murder. Another survivor, known by the pseudonym Heinz Heiger, recalled inmates at the same camp, people accused of heinous crimes like murder, calling them filthy queer and 175er. He recalled gay men having to sleep with their hands above the blanket lest they be forced outside, even in winter, to have buckets of water thrown over them. Another account from 1941 details the forcible drowning of 2 gay men in a bathroom. And worst of all, isn't what happened to these men during the war. No, the worst part is that their persecution didn't end with the war. Because while the pink triangle tells the stories of the lives torn apart by the cruelty of those years, it grew to represent the lives that Hitler's regime continued to destroy long after the ink dried on the Paris Peace Treaty. Because while 1945 marked a chance to heal and rebuild for most of the survivors, for the LGBTQ community, the end of the nightmare wouldn't come for another 47 years. Paragraph 175 toughened the penalties for homosexuality while broadening the scope of the law. Under Hitler's Reich, good people, primarily good men, suffered for the perceived crime of loving someone of the same sex. And these men's punishment didn't end when the Allies swept through in 1945. Even after liberation, gay men left the camps convicted criminals. Some were even forced to serve out their full sentence in German prisons. The Nazi-era amendment to paragraph 175 endured for another 2 decades in West Germany, and the law itself wasn't abolished entirely until June of 1994. Pink lists were created. LGBTQ West Germans were forced to back into the shadows, and survivors of the camp were forced to stay silent out of fear of persecution. In the 2 decades that the harsher paragraph 175 remained unaltered, a law strengthened and enforced by war criminals, the country initiated around 100,000 further proceedings against gay men. And this was after the official end of the Holocaust in World War II. It wasn't until the 1970s that victims began speaking out, and it wasn't until 2017 that the German Bundestag voted to pardon and compensate the survivors of paragraph 175. So what does the pink triangle mean? Like the yellow star, like our pride flag, and like the celebrations throughout the month of June, it's a reminder that we stand here today because of the struggle and the tenacity of victims and survivors, some whose names and stories we will never know, who suffered horrible injustice and stood against it, who fought, lost, and started fighting again. We belong to communities built on their backs. The pink triangle is a reminder to honor that sacrifice, to remember, separately and collectively, that the goal this and other symbols remind us to strive towards. Never again.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And we have one last speaker before I make some closing remarks, and that is my good friend and Vice President of the Fall River Pride Committee, Ren.
Hello everyone, my name is Ren Perry. I am the Vice President of the Fall River Pride Committee. So I want to start off by saying I went back and forth about how to approach this speech. What mood I should set, how cautious I should be, became a ping pong match in my mind. In the end, the only thing I knew for sure was to be honest about my plans for the future. Someday, I'd like to buy a small house with my partner where we can live with our pets and create a warm and loving home with a basement for a shared man cave for our hobbies and maybe a pool in the backyard, allowing us to invite our chosen family to come over, have fun, and be themselves. We still have many goals to accomplish before we can get there, but honestly, that feels so far away when surviving becomes harder and harder each day. I could talk about all the ways that things have been a consistent struggle for me, but instead, I remind myself of something else. Despite all the chaos, I'm privileged in many other aspects, and this isn't just about me. When it comes to privilege, I think it's easier for many people to say to themselves, I do care about circumstances that are disproportionately out of whack for said marginalized communities, but every time I try to help, it feels like I always mess up. Or, why should I get involved in someone else's business? It's a lot harder to say, I'm sorry, let's try again, and how can I do better? Or, I'll be more mindful. Instead of those second statements being spoken, defensiveness comes out when somebody's learning to do better. When it comes to these moments, it was Plato that said, the highest form of knowledge is empathy, for it requires us to suspend our egos and live in another's world. The more I learn about LGBTQ plus history, I am proud of how far we've come, but saddened by how much has stayed the same or become worse around the country. I am aware and thankful that the state of Massachusetts has been a safe state for LGBTQ plus folks in law. Right here in Fall River, we've had a tremendous outpour of compassion and support, despite all the bigotry we've also faced here. I'm relieved at this pride was a possibility with all support and compromises that have been made to get us here by the city of Fall River and all of our friends and allies. Pride isn't just about only having a fun party where we can all hang out. A good portion of LGBTQ plus people, LGBTQ plus people are on a widely opposing ends of how they feel about getting better access to not just fundamental rights, but how we live our day-to-day lives. At Pride, though, that's a place where we can come together and not have to explain any of that or do the opposite in a neutral place. It's a common ground of minds where we remember where we came from. Right now, when the past is becoming more and more the future, and not in a good way, I think we need as many people to come together and support, no matter where we stand. There are a couple of songs that really speak to the larger encompassing portions of our community. You may know Somewhere Over the Rainbow with our famous ally Judy Garland singing it. There's another one that I'd like to end the speech with as my final words that have been sung by Ben E. King to Florence and the Machine. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountains should crumble to the sea, I won't cry, I won't cry. No, I won't shed a tear. Just as you stand, stand by me. Thank you.
So, as we kind of bring our speaking program to a conclusion here, I just wanted to make a few remarks. And I can't thank you all enough for coming to the annual Pride flag raising. I want to thank the City of Fall River and Mayor Paul Coogan for his unwavering support of the LGBT community. I need us to remember that Pride is as much of a celebration as it is a protest. The celebration reminds us of how far we've come. The protest continues because of how far we still have to go. Pride Month is a time of reflection. And as I reflect on the past year and the year ahead, I am unbelievably inspired and so proud of the work of the Fall River Pride Committee has accomplished. We walked along the boardwalk in remembrance of our fallen trans siblings. We've hosted drag story times in spite of the hate, the bigotry, and the lies perpetrated against us at those events. We've raised funds, we've joined coalitions, we've built bridges. We've worked with multiple local agencies, and we've even partnered with local churches in an attempt to heal rifts between the queer community and faith-based institutions. Now, I'm not going to please everybody. I tend to disappoint sometimes. I was just told today that I disappointed local committee members because of my outreach efforts. But unity means all, and healing begins when we roll up our sleeves and we do the soul work required for a brighter future. When I was a kid, I never imagined myself speaking to a crowd of local officials with my weird little gay lisp and my friends and people from the community partners to talk about gender and sexuality and Pride Month. I never thought I would wear a dress in public and not be endlessly harassed and feel more pride than I feel shame and guilt. But all of that was a journey, and here I am doing just that. We here at the Pride Committee, we're striving hard to be the adults that we needed when we were young. We received this all the time. Why do you work with kids? Why do you do drag story time? Why work with young people? As a personal story, I wanted to end my life when I was 12. I was 12 years old, and I'd already had enough shame in my mind that I didn't want to live. So if I could feel that level of shame and pain and guilt at 12 years old, then it is suffice to say that younger than that starts to develop who they are and starts to figure out who they want to be in their authentic bodies and skins. But yet we're constantly told that we're wrong, that it's a phase, that there's something that we'll grow out of, that if you try to transition or you want to change your social gender or your social identities, that you're making a grave mistake, that God hates you. All of these other things that we have heard every single day of our lives. So to take a moment to be at Fall River Government Center, the seat, the heart of government here in our little city, and watch a mayor give us a proclamation, watch this progress flag raise above us to say we do not stand for bigotry, we do not stand for fear, and we do not kowtow to ignorance. We are here because we survived. And as survivors, it is our right to forge forward the path so the next generation can not only just focus on surviving, but on thriving and on becoming a community that is as much a part of the fabric of this city as every other community. And we do so together. Thank you so much for being here today and for hearing our stories and for understanding how important it is to the youth of Fall River, to the young queer people out there who are watching us, and us leading the way to create the safe spaces that are so desperately needed so we can heal, grow, and move all of us forward as one. Thank you so much. I would love to have you guys join me for the flag raising to take some photos, and thank you so much. All right, which one of my friends want to help me raise the flag? Come on, friends. Don't be shy.